Mark,
Yes,
London International Awards 2022 is the third day, I believe, like here, or the fourth day. I kind of like counts. It's easy to do that, like in Las
it's
Vegas,
Vegas. You
right?
always lose count.
But I
Yes.
believe you must be Ocean 7, something like that. Yeah, Ocean 7. And look, so excited to have you on board.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It's great. It's the first time I'm doing this particular show and president of the radio jury, and yeah, it's been great.
It's been an experience, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's everyone has just been so nice, and a lot of my radio jury has done it before,
Right,
so. Any questions I have, they show
right,
me the ropes. I mean,
right,
I've judged radio shows
right,
before, but like they've been doing this, and so
right.
they've been holding my hand,
Awesome.
which is good.
Hey, look, so I'm going to use the Seven Seas interview to cross the ocean. We believe that everybody's an ocean. And to really get to know somebody, you have to cross the ocean. So
Yep.
the Seven Seas interview is a format I created for all my guests. So we're going to go from the first to the last question. It's going to be hopefully like, easy ride, stormy ride. I don't know. Like, let's go for it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
hopefully
cool,
it's
man.
Not like a Lord of the Rings journey across the ocean, which I'm watching now. Yeah.
Okay, look, the chemical formula for water, H2O, right, indicate that each of its molecules contain one oxygen and two hydrogen atoms. Now, water is an inorganic, transparent, tasteless, odorless, and nearby colorless chemical substance. But if you look at it, if you think about it, like, it's everything. It's everything. We
Yep.
wouldn't be here, like, without water. It's so vital. Now, your agency, Highdive, it is like, an amazing, like, agency based in Chicago. We talk about, like, a little bit, like, offline.
Yep.
And I believe as an agency must have, like, a vital ingredients that comparable to water. What would that be?
Yes. Liquor. No, I'm kidding.
No, that would
Not
be
liquor.
awesome. Stay
That
on
would be-
liquor, please.
Yes, not liquor. At High Dive, this may sound kind of corny, but literally one of our secret sauces is positivity.
Okay.
It's just something that carries us. It's how we measure employees. It's really, we do positivity and productivity, but I'll focus on the positivity
Right.
part. But if clients had said it about us, if we get difficult, if we lose, we stay positive. If we're faced with a difficult task from the client, we stay positive. We just pick ourselves back up and keep going. We do it amongst ourselves too as people, but you'd be surprised. We talk to a lot of
Right.
clients who deal with agencies who don't get that from their agencies. And so, and I'm not saying, listen, this industry, we curse, we
Right.
scream, we fight.
Right.
It happens. And I'm not saying we're immune to that.
Right.
But it's really positivity that drives us, that
Here's a funny thing. I want to give you like a hint here in my personal craziness. I ride motorcycle all the time, and every time I come back from a ride, I feel very positive, energized, and every time I do this, I put my motorcycle on the battery charge, right? And there is always the fragment of second. I look at the battery charge, and there is a negative pole and a positive pole. And I always think about it. I don't know why it happens to me. I think about, okay, I really feel positive, but at one point I'm gonna feel negative. And I must believe that in everybody's life there is this struggle between like positive and negative, positive and negative. So how do you stay positive? Because I must believe that at one point as a like CCO and partner of the agency, you must have like wave of negativity coming at you. How do you push them back on a personal level?
it's a great question. It's funny. We've been selective of who we hired, and it starts with hiring. So we hire people that literally, if you would say, carry that positivity gene.
Right.
So it doesn't take much, but I don't know. Listen, I could be a pessimist like crazy.
Are you a
but,
pessimist in your life?
as I've grown, less so. So I've gotten older and more wise, less pessimistic.
That is so interesting because normally it should work the other way around, right? That the older you get, the more pessimistic you get.
Yeah, I think I've seen and been through so much that, when something gets thrown your way, the way they say, calm seas don't make for good sailors. And
Right.
I've been through a lot, and so I'm able to say, the famous quote, "This too shall pass."
Okay.
And it happens. If we lose, every time, what keeps us being positive is I think every time we've lost something, this is very cliche to say, but an opportunity is opened up elsewhere for
Right.
us. And so that's, after that happened a few times, you're able to remain positive. And it's just, we're a client service business. We have to be there with our clients.
Right.
Don't want to deal with, negativity. It also, I think there's some study that say that, because we talk all about healthy relationships at Highdive, that we preach healthy client relationships. And I think there's a study that says that negativity, when you basically shut down and the creative part of your brain shuts
Right.
down, isn't as open. And so it's important for us to
Is that
to stay
scientifically
positive.
proved that like during a negative period, the creative part of your brain shuts down?
Not shuts down completely, but is lessened. And I will have to,
It's
don't quote me
dormant.
on that, I will Google that and we'll follow up after this. But yes, we talk about that when we do our new business pitches. So
So this is
it
actually
is
very
factual.
interesting.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. You can tell if you're in a negative state, you're tense,
Right.
you're looking to blame, you're worried about other things than when you're open and free and positive and
There's
thinking of
more
good
creative.
ideas and
Definitely,
trying
man.
things. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Second question. There is a point in the Pacific Ocean known as like Point Nemo, which actually means like point of no one, because Nemo
Right.
means like no one. Named after the famous submarine sailor from Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's the world's most lonely place, at the hardest place to reach. It's also like a spacecraft cemetery, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Over 100 decommissioned spacecraft machines are thought to be submerged there in
Why
this
there?
point. In that particular point, I don't know why exactly there, but maybe serve as a dumpster in the ocean. I have no idea, but I know for fact because I Google it that more than 100 ships are like submerged there. Now, if you were to travel there and take one thing from your office desk in Chicago at Highdive before it gets submerged, before the whole office sink into the water, what would you get from your desk?
Isn't the obvious? My wife would probably kill me if I didn't say, the pictures of my two boys, my wife, and,
Yeah, that means like
and my dogs. Yes.
Of course,
So,
that it will take.
Yeah, I would own 10 dogs so I could have two, Violet and Vince. But, obviously if you're going to the loneliest place on earth that's in the middle of nowhere, you probably want to be surrounded
Right.
by your loved ones.
Okay, give me a
That's-
second thing that you would save. Okay, we got
my-
that out of the way. Now,
Okay, I figured that probably wasn't exciting enough. My Emmy statue, I guess.
that's interesting. Your
Yeah.
Emmy Stadio.
So it's probably one of the things I'm most proud of.
What did you get
in the
that
industry.
for?
We got it for a Bud Light spot called Swear Jar, and I don't remember the year. I was working at DDB at the
Yeah.
time, and we were nominated. I've been nominated 3 times, won once. But it was spectacular. You get to go to the Emmy. There's 2 Emmys. There's Creative Arts Emmys and the Emmys.
Right.
You go a week before. But
Right.
there are a lot of stars and
Right.
celebs there. But it was great. They didn't tell us we were going to win. We were totally
Right.
shocked
Right.
on the day. And when your work gets recognized outside of our
Right.
insular industry, it's pretty special.
And you were part of the team that wrote like Real Men of Genius.
Yes, yep. It was myself, Bob Winter, John Amasotti, and
Right.
Bill Cimino, who was my.
So
partner
let me
at the
just
time.
say this, right? Because I think probably like junior creative and maybe they don't know Real Men of Genius, but you and I are the same generation, I believe. And I think when Real Men of Genius came out, I was still like working in Italy.
Right.
Life is so interesting because when it came out, of course, it was like on everybody mouth, like everybody was talking about this amazing radio, and
Yeah.
and you will go and listen to them, and I think my appreciation for Real Men of Genius grew as I moved to America and I really understood the American culture, because I think if you are not familiar with American culture, even the way that radio script is formulated of the inside jokes,
Yeah.
they don't resonate enough with you. But I gotta say,
Yes.
so I have you in front of me, dude, great job. That was a
Thank
fucking
you.
good radio, man.
Thank you. Yeah. It was. We rode that sled down the award train for I think we won Grand Prix, Grand Clio,
Yeah,
Grand
yeah.
Andy, and
It's one of those You know, it's crazy because I think I have just in my portfolio there is like one piece that I have that people remember beside the award, and I think like I must assume that like real men of genius have been following you forever, like since you guys like I mean honestly as soon as you say it, it doesn't matter like how many awards you won, like everybody knows,
Yes.
like that that's the ultimate radio commercial, and like
Yeah.
and to this day I don't think has been beaten yet, and it's interesting from a creative perspective to look back and say like, oh, I pinned down that I did that.
I know. You wondered at the time, were we ever going to beat that in my career? Like, do
You're
I
never
have, do I
gonna
have
do
to
it.
hang it up? Do I
You're
have
never
to
gonna
hang
do
it up? But, it was great. I wound up winning, some Super Bowls with TV at DDB, and luckily at our new agency, we won 3 years in a row, and so that was pretty special to us too. But I don't think it was like Real Men of Genius. I mean, that resonated with so many people. It did well over in London. It did well here in the U.S. and. Yeah, I mean, it was a take on, we were making fun of, like you say, Americana and not understanding those intricacies about America. But back in the day, Budweiser used to do beer commercials that
Right.
were sort of like, after a long day's work, and you're canoeing with logs, you deserve a beer. And so that's what we were kind of making fun of. So instead of saluting those guys, like, why don't we salute just the people that are the everyday? Maybe you could have done it in Europe and done salutes to like jobs that that are in Italy.
It's so interesting, man. There is so many like nuances, like the equivalent of beer, beer in America, and I got to understand this when I moved here. It's probably the equivalent of wine in Italy. Like what I mean? It's like it's not like the typical American father, American man go home after a work day, open the fridge, grab a beer. It's not like that in Italy. It's not like that in Europe. Like, it's like you probably get a glass of wine, you sit down for dinner, you drink a glass of wine. So that's why I'm saying it's like when I think there is a greater appreciation of that script, of that work, if you are surrounded by the American culture. Like, there is like nuances that you can get so that you understand what that means. Like, because it's everybody. It's part of everybody culture, like the act of drinking beer, like and this happened like on any level of drink. Like I can talk forever about coffee, and like the shitty brown water that you had to drink here compared to the espresso, right? Like but and even the way the way the coffee is drunk here, right? Like here in Italy it's drunk like a shot. So you just stand up. So even the coffee, there's not such a thing as a coffee where you sit down. You go to the counter, you drink your espresso and get shots. Here, there is a coffee shop. Like, it's different. It's like a little bit more like in France where you sit down, you have your coffee, you know what I mean? So, so many different nuances, but like.
But thank God that Starbucks came and changed our coffee culture, because now it's gotten more sophisticated. You're right. We used to have to go to diners, and
now you have to wait like 25 minutes for the person to order like some sort of like.
Yes. But no, I believe I've been to Italy. It's delicious, and often like when I'm walking around there, you're tired because you're trying to see everything of the day. So many times during the day, I stop in. Usually because I have to use the bathroom, and you gotta. I feel.
Yeah, you
I
feel
wanna
bad.
Pay,
so
you feel bad, so I buy it.
espresso.
But like, yes, that quick espresso is delicious. And I know for breakfast, they eat just like biscotti or a little sweet thing in the coffee. But yes,
good man.
Delicious.
Third question: humanity has been able to reach like distant vistas, such as the moon, the deep ocean, and the wild expanses at the Earth poles. Now, scientists have made a new breakthrough in the exploration of a very different type of frontier, the hallucinatory world inside dreams. An international team of researchers was able to achieve real-time dialogues with people in the midst of lucid dream, a phenomenon that is called interactive dreaming. Within our industry, the word interactive is overused. It becomes such an empty word. Everything is interactive even when it's not. But if you were to use interactive dreaming as a new communication channel, what would you do with it?
I have to say, this question may stump me. I mean, I read this and I don't know. I guess, well, first I would say that I think that obviously you're touching some interesting emotions and appealing to like an emotional side of a person when they're in their dreams. So I think great work, you don't even need to probably get into some people's dreams. Great work does that automatically. But I don't know, to play with someone's subconscious, I guess the answer would probably be, are there really certain brands that would probably be good in that space? I would think about like Jeep. We do a lot of Jeep work, and Jeep is about freedom and conquering, vistas and being open and free. And so I feel like I'd want to do car stuff with interactive dreaming, and I don't know quite what that would be, but to sort of be able to give them some sort of interactive experience while dreaming around the Jeep. It just feels like it's perfectly suited for what, because when I think of like dreaming, I think of freedom. Like you can go anywhere and do anything in your dreams, and it's a similar strategy we have for Jeep. So that's probably the very first thing I would do.
It's so interesting because my soul goes like on a different path. I go like, when I think of dreaming, I think nightmares. And I'll tell you something that happened just yesterday, and I was like, I might be dreaming here. But then my wife, she works in media, told me that no, they're actually listening to you. So I tell you what happened. I met at the award show like a person that I haven't seen him like in years. I'm telling you, like in years, probably 8-9 years, right? We hug each other, talk a little bit, it's like, went back to my hotel room. I was on my phone and suddenly LinkedIn suggests me to connect with this very person I just talked like 10 minutes before. Yeah. And I was like, this is serendipity. My wife was like, no, that's not serendipity. That's actually the track, like the position on your phone with the position on that person's phone. And they made like, the algorithm made a connection. Right. And I was like, dude, this might be like interactive dreaming because like, that's what it is, right? Like, that's a nightmare. And that's where my brain went immediately, like, with lucid dreaming, it's like living in this reality that get altered by some sort of like external force that look upon you and is drive and is looking at every move. That's like probably like altering subconscious.
Yeah, I almost think about it a little bit like Total Recall, I guess.
Yes.
So Total Recall and like being able to like just literally, as opposed to the metaverse and things we have going on, but literally be able to travel to different planets and experience and what that might be. But I don't. Yeah, it's funny as someone who doesn't remember a ton of my dreams.
You don't?
No.
I tell you more. I not only remember my dream, I developed this ability of dreaming, being a dream, and then I had to go to the bathroom maybe like at 3 o'clock at night. I say to myself, let's pause the dream. Let me go to the bathroom. So I wake up, I go to the bathroom.
And you can bring it back?
And I come back and then pick it up where I'm left. That shit is awesome, man.
That's amazing.
No drugs involved, man. Do it all naturally.
I wish I could do that. You always sometimes wake up from an amazing dream. You're like, I want to go back. If we could use interactive dreaming for that, I want to hook up to that machine.
That could be.
Yes.
That could be. See, that's good brainstorming. Okay, man. There is a true fable out there, and carry the signature of Patti Smith. It's a fable that comes in the shape of a book. It is a portrait of two young artists, a prelude to fame. It was the summer cultural die, the summer of love and riots, and the summer when a chance encounter in Brooklyn led two young people on a path of art, devotion, and initiation. The book is called Just Kids by Patti Smith. I read this book like a couple years ago. It's such a beautiful book. And two young oceans mixing water and hopes. Was there ever a time in your career where you had someone in your workplace as a partner that truly represent like an exchange of waters and oceans and like, and truly had an understanding with you and that kind of chemistry that brought the best work out?
For sure. And that answer is my writing partner, who I did, who we led Real Men of Genius with, and that was Bill Cimino. Yeah, William Cimino.
Where is he now?
Right now, Bill, he's in Florida. I think he's somewhat out of the business. His last job, I think he was in McCann in Detroit. He was CCO for a little while at Rynar in Chicago. And right now, I think he's just freelancing. But I started in the business, and it wasn't until I met Bill that we really hit our creative stride. I was working with a bunch of different partners, maybe 3 or 4 different partners, and sort of the light went off when we met each other. We were just sort of, and similar personalities don't always work in teams. We happen to have similar beliefs and personalities and styles. And yeah, we hit it, and we sold a couple great spots up front, and we were doing so well that they promoted us to creative directors on Bud Light, and we just rose up together. But yeah, we
Do you miss that chemistry?
Um,
I mean, now that you sit at the helm of like Highdive, and you probably like, you don't have a partner, I believe, or maybe like you oversee, but do you miss that time?
I do a little bit. I have a creative partner now that
Right.
who started. So Chad Brody and I started Highdive, and so I guess he would be that other partner. Now Chad is much younger than I am, so maybe we don't see eye to eye on some other things in life. But I don't know if I miss it. You have to, once you grow into different roles,
Right.
you're not expected to have that partnership. It's interesting, like, was it Tom and Sean, who were heads of McCann, like they were CCOs for a long time, and finally they recently just split up, and I
Right.
sent them a note, and I was like, it's interesting you guys split up. But I don't know if I miss it. It was interesting, the fact that Bill left at the time. He went to go be a ECD or CCO in Orange County out in California, and it paved the way for my career to then rise. So in a way, I was really sad at first to see him leave, but then I had to, they pushed me into the pool and said, you're going to swim by yourself and make it happen. And that's how I then got GCD and ECD. So, I think there's just times where you have to, if you really want that in your career. Some people want to stay a career team,
Right.
and I know I had friends who did that. But if you want to be a CCO or you want to be an ECD, you have to,
Yeah, it's
you have
like,
to split
okay.
off. But
That's-
yeah, it was special. We sold Super Bowl spots together and a lot of work together, and we watched our families grow up together, and it really was the point in my career where that took off. Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I wonder if like, all that energy that was like triggered by that creative partnership, right? If you could visualize the energy, where is it gone? Like if there are pockets of energy around us, like, I had a creative partner back in Acumen von Hamburg, it's an amazing creative, and Jens Peter Warnes, and he was my partner back then, and we had a very good chemistry. And sometimes I think about how creative energy and where the energy is gone, where is he now? If he's like floating somewhere in the air. I don't know if I get too philosophical, but I like to think about that. Those kind of energy produced by creative partnership are palpable, are tangible, are something that you produce like a brick, and they sit somewhere in space, and maybe even if they are in the past, but they're there, you can't touch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in a way, I think that's partly because you wind up, I wound up loving Bill really in a way, not like that,
Right.
but as a really good friend. And I watch it, we have a young team, not a young team, they're mid, I don't know how old Alex and John are, and they've been together a long time. And I love to watch it and think about, back when I used to work with Bill, and these guys are just, and they're like, they grew up out of school together. Like, they were going to Syracuse together, and so they've worked together for a long, long time. And so, it's like a partner in life. You spend more time at work than you do with your spouses, and that has to work, and in advertising, it's a tough job because you're battling over ideas, and believe me, we fought over the years, Bill and I, sometimes, and then we'd quickly make up, but things just piss you off, and
Right.
if the relationship is good enough, you get past it. But yeah, there definitely is an energy there, and
It's so funny because I wrote a piece recently about disagreement and fights, and how it's so vital to have them in a brainstorming, right? And I actually brought the analogy of how a muscle grow, right? For instance, you had to go to the gym or whatever exercise you do, for the muscle to grow, you have to break the fiber of the muscle. Once the fiber breaks, the way they reconnect is the way the muscle grow, right? Recovery.
Yes.
The same things happen with idea. If you and I never disagree, there is no growing.
Exactly.
But if you and I disagree, eventually we're going to find a path where we rejoin again, and that path is our growing, is our idea, is our concept.
Yep, you're better for it. Yeah, that is the, and we can get philosophical, but that's the Zen philosophy, which
Yeah.
is that nothing comes in life without suffering.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I firmly believe that. And I read a book once. The guy he wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Sorry, and he wrote Hope We're All Fucked. I think Mark Mason is his name. And that was his whole theory, was that you will suffer for which you value. So, Phelps, he didn't want to get up every morning at 3
But he did.
and 7 hours a week, but he valued the medal enough that he did it. If you want to look thin and you want to be in shape, you got to go suffer through working out to get there. If you don't, you'll sit on the couch and eat.
Right.
It's all what you value. You want to be with your kids at home and not and give up some work opportunities, you do that. If you value work more, you do that. So it's a great. I recommend that book. It's quite good.
Definitely.
He talks about that.
Okay, good. So in the 18th and the 19th century, it took an average 6 weeks to cross the Atlantic. Nowadays, it generally takes 6 or 8 days with a ship. So it is fair to say that speed is probably one of the most important gifts that progress gives us. But speed can be a burden too. Looking at the state of our industry, speed as far as to shorten up the time between concepting, brainstorming, and producing, right? It's shortened up incredibly. And if you were to give back the time that was stolen from your craft, and someone come to you and say, okay, I know I shortened up the time, but here it is. You got 2 hours back. Where would you employ those 2 hours? In which part of the process between brainstorming and producing?
It's a great question. And I will tell you, based on the time, I think it's funny, when I started in this business, we literally used to shoot a commercial. They'd put everything on 3/4-inch tapes.
Right.
You would go into the editor and you would spend a day eating lunch and looking at all the takes, maybe a day and a half. You'd go back and you'd go back to the editor 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Now we've cut spots. We're finished wrapping in the hotel before. We did Bill Murray, the Jeep Super Bowl spot. We shot that Saturday, Sunday, Monday to get on Super Bowl the next Sunday. Literally, we were editing the night before. So you make a great point. And technology has done that. You're able to do things quicker and more quickly. I was talking to editors who edit movies on their laptop in their hotel room. You just can do that now. But if I had to take the time back, I would. It's funny, I would almost say concepting at first, but what's interesting about that is I feel the lack of procrastination, the time limit makes
I think so too.
you better, because as creatives, we're those students in class that are always like, we'll do it the night before. So I don't know if that's the place. Probably in the production process of it.
That's how we do that too. I think I would give it back to the production and the execution itself, because I think there is no time to think about it. Because once you get the idea and the brainstorming, and you sell the idea, I think the real work start after you sell the idea. Now you have to make it happen. But as you start producing and making it happen, you discover so many different things that you want to change, that you want to adjust, and you have the time and the mental space to do it, and you can't rush it. And I think in advertising, that's exactly when we rush, and that's why I think our craft hasn't reached any peak. It's very rare to see something that is so well crafted, and when it is, everybody's in awe. Anybody say, "Oh my God, it's so well crafted." Yeah. But on the average, it looks like any other video that is put together in a hotel room. Yeah. That's what it is.
I mean, we used to have pre-lights. I'm starting to see that come back a little bit, but you'd have a whole pre-light day to get things right, and that gave you more time, because instead of figuring out things the morning you get there. But I agree. A good example was we did the Super Bowl spot with Jason Momoa for Rocket Mortgage, and the time we did it so last minute that we had to do something somewhat practically, where we cast a skinny guy. I don't know if you saw the spot, but he went up taking off his arms.
Yeah, I remember.
So we wound up having to do, because we didn't have the time to do it all in post and CGI, we wound up having to get a skinny, model that was similar to him and sort of track everything and do that. And if we had to do it back over again, I think exactly we were talking about making the craft better, we would have done it a different way, but time just got the best of us. The other thing we're shortened on shoots now is amazing, is you go on a shoot and you got to shoot social,
everything,
digital videos, everything. And that is now, and they don't want to spend any more for it, and it's cutting the time away from a great TV spot. So we've had, for a Super Bowl, we did this Anna Kendrick spot with Barbie. We had to have another director doing it off in the corner, not with Ola, and
everything, man. And I'm a movie addict, a movie junkie. So I was I constantly watch interview with directors and and of course the movie industry is kind of different. You still have an enormous amount of time compared to advertising to edit your film. Even there, they shorten up a lot. There is no anymore that kind of Stanley Kubrick editing length of time, right? Yeah. But when you have given the freedom, I think that's the piece and the outcome that you produce it's like offer you like a totally different like results.
Yeah.
That's because I think when you like when you shoot and then you put something together on the shoots, like I mean to this day they even have it. I mean the last shoot we had a editor on the set.
Yeah.
We will be shooting in the morning, editing at
That's the way
night.
it is now. I know.
You know what I mean? It's like
too.
think about it. Like when you shoot, you still haven't really like you piece a story, but the story can be told in so many different way, and maybe like you want to give it at least like a couple of days in between to understand how to piece it really well. Anyway, that's an interesting point. We can talk about this forever, but speed is really something that like works like double sword to me.
Some of it, like I said, if it cuts off the procrastination, it helps, but most of the part it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think there are some cases where maybe we didn't need as much time,
Right.
but I believe craft is suffering. I agree with you.
Cool. Last question. This is a Leah question. I asked to all my guests here, to all the jury presidents, when are you going to fly back?
I fly back Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday. So I believe that you're going to bring a lot of memories from like this week.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to pick up 2 memories, okay? And I'm going to ask you to put these 2 memories, like one in your carry-on and one in your luggage. Which one goes where and why?
Well, let me ask first, is there a significance to why
There
one
is a
goes in the
significance.
luggage?
There is
and
a
one goes in-
significance.
But I'm
I'm going to make you feel good about it, that no one got this significance. Only one person got it, I believe, yesterday.
okay, one maybe is just a fleeting memory, and the other lasts. I don't know.
Well, let me help you. Let's do this, right? Like the carry-on is something that nobody can lose, right? So it's like very precious. Like,
Got
you
it.
can lose your luggage.
Got it.
But what you put in your carry-on usually is most precious, right? You wouldn't put your
Right.
passport in your luggage. You
Right.
put in your carry-on, right?
it.
Because there is a chance that, like, mostly if you fly to Italy, that luggage is gonna get lost.
yeah. I have a Apple now. I put one of the finders in my bag now. That's what you got to do. You put the Apple,
Right.
which I don't know what helps. You'll probably be able to watch your bag fly
Yeah.
off somewhere else. Be like,
Oh, cool.
I see it, but I can't get it. That's the problem. I mean, this is probably cliche, but hanging with your jury and the people. COVID sucked, and I think. Being able to talk with really talented people in the industry about work, again, it's why we do this business. It's what gets us
Right.
jazzed. You and I could probably sit here and talk for 5 hours about great work or great movies. And so being with everyone, the dinners, the judging, we have 2 more judging days ahead of us, but it's, I haven't seen Chris in a while. I've judged some shows with him and Larissa in New York. And so it's really the people, I think, is what's
awesome,
most
man.
special to carry on.
What about your luggage?
The luggage would be Vegas in general. Every time I come
I would put this carpet.
Yes. Every time, this carpet, the people, the gambling, everything to me in Vegas is like, it's just
a bit too much.
bizarre
Yeah.
city. Like, you can't do more than 3 days here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take that away from me. Like, I love the hotel, actually, when I got here.
The hotel is
I didn't-
amazing,
I didn't
yeah.
think the room was going to be as nice as it was, and it was beautiful.
We
but, like,
had to give credit to London International Awards. I mean, like, honestly, it's top notch. Everything
notch.
here, like, from the room to the lunch to the catering to the dinners, the parties, like, it's amazing. I was super
agree.
impressed.
I agree. It's been really, and when you're away from your family, even though you're doing something fun, I think that makes it all that much nicer. Especially when we go on production, clients think we're spending money in nice hotels, but you're away. It's not to be lavish. You're doing it because it feels better and makes you, so. But yeah, probably the Vegas experience is it's God. You see some people walking by, and that's judgmental of me to say, but you're like, oh man, this is a crazy fucking place.
Okay.
So
Look, Mark, thank you so much
Yes,
for being
thank
part of
you.
Transatlantic. You were an
Appreciate
awesome
it.
ocean to cross.
thank you.
Thank you, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, was I good? Was there any crazy interview you've done so far that someone was?
It's like